to the Robinhood Capitalists. I'm your host, DJ Flores. With me, as always, my coach and mentor, Coach Stacy V. Coach, uh, this week's kind of been crazy for me. It's Thursday. It feels like it's Monday. I don't really know. It's been a different week for me. How about you, Coach? How's it been since we talked last?
It's like all of them. It seems to be flying by. They come and go so fast. It's hard to keep up. And you look at the calendar and
Mike,
Thanksgiving's right around the corner.
I don't want to, I have to say it. I'm sorry. Anybody who's watching right now, or if you watch later, and the thought of Christmas or anything about Christmas disappoints you, I'm sorry. But somebody brought it up in a networking meeting that I was at this morning, and they said 10 weeks. And I was like, 10 weeks? It's actually 10 weeks till Christmas, y'all. That's not that far. Holy cow.
And if you or your spouse are into those hokey movies that come out on Hallmark or Great American Family, Great American Family started last weekend. Hallmark starts this weekend. So the holiday movies are flying in my house because I'm married to a Hallmarkaholic.
Are you really? Yes, I love it. I
She
love it.
loves
So,
those movies.
so I'm a huge Christmas person too. I am a diehard Christmas person. Well, are you a big fan of Christmas? I don't even know how we got to Christmas, but are you a big fan of Christmas?
We're talking about the calendar moving real fast, but oh yeah, I love it. We got a lot of great traditions of the family that are just awesome. So
Okay,
it's
and it's not Christmas,
good
y'all.
stuff.
We didn't even get to Halloween yet, so sorry to
We're
get
just like
anybody
Walmart and
confused.
every other retailer. We're already jumping ahead.
Yeah, we're pre-selling you. Get ready, y'all. It's coming. But anyway, speaking of pre-selling, before we get this next show started, we're going to get into low cost marketing. This week has been about branding, marketing, and really just helping out new business owners. This coach has been working with in his new franchise and opportunity business with Focal Point. He's been seeing the same consistent issues that either they don't have the systems in place to either track what there should be tracking to know whether their marketing dollars are working or not, or they're just not marketing at all, and they're wondering where their customers are at.
And at the very
But
beginning, they're not even sure who they are, what their uniqueness is. So there's a lot of clarity work on the front end for a lot of us too. So
yes, and so obviously branding though and all of that is crucial, and that's going to be a journey though throughout your process of building the business, and that's the experience and all of that. But the marketing is, and there's low cost ways, and so that's what we're going to get into today. But before that, want to really just touch back on first. I got to show coaches fish again. Y'all missed it. You want to know how to catch a huge, and he showed me the picture after, guys. So it was a Polaroid. I don't know. He didn't get a chance to send it over, but this fish was ginormous. So if you want to learn how to catch a giant bass like that, coach, when do I get to go fishing and see what that experience is like?
all we got to do is put it on the calendar. I'm always ready to go fish.
You all heard it. All right, I'm holding you to that. And so, obviously, last show on Tuesday was about branding and how does one shoe, and it's just a shoe, be $49 in the same shoe, but because of a little extra something to it, end up $999, and it's branding. And it's because it becomes more than what it is. Just like some things we might see. That's just a check mark. In school, you learn that as a check mark. That's a good thing on your papers. But to most of us, we know exactly what that is. It's Nike
There was
because of the
a
branding
student
that they've done.
artist that put that together for just a couple $100.
Yeah, it's insane, right? And this, is that Wonder Woman upside down? And I just blocked out the W, or obviously we know that's the Golden Arches, and you know what that means. Branding. It's so powerful. And then, of course, everybody knows what this is. And Simon Sinek's a big proponent of this, and just the power of how they've been able to really take over um, because of how well they did with branding and the power of it. And I want to bring up some pain. And so, anybody who grew up in the 80s like I did, and this was a very blown up brand, I don't know how it happened. what the craze was. But I do know the big one was like the Charlotte Hornets. I think that was the most popular, and the Chicago Bulls. I do know that. And if you had any of those, you got jumped. It was to the level that kids were getting beat up, jumped, hurt. Bad things were happening just because of that's little symbol on a jacket. Where are you, starter? Come back.
Yeah, my Cowboys version of that was stolen right off of a bleacher when I turned my back, and I never got it back.
No way. See, I didn't even know that, guys. Didn't even know that story before doing this. So see, that was the power of the brand, though, and power of branding. And I think that's really, hopefully, drives home just how meaningful branding is. But so, Coach, before we get into this next part of the low cost marketing, what any thoughts for?
Well, just remember branding and marketing are different. So branding, uh, I mean, if you think all the way back, Yellowstone, if you've been watching that and you see everything that goes on, they brand one another. I don't know that that's where we want to go, but we can say that branding started with cattle. You had to have a way to differentiate your cattle from the other herds. You had to know what was yours. You had to stand out. And it's really no different. That's what your brand does for you. Your brand is a differentiator. And so your brand represents your promise that you're making to your clients and to the world, the promise that you're making to the world. And so your brand, basically your brand gets you known. What will happen is your brand gets you known, your marketing will get you the attention, and then the sales is what gets you paid, right? But so the brand gets you known, marketing gets the attention of the people, and sales gets you paid, and that's kind of the cycle. But you got to start with, what is your brand going to really represent? What is it all about?
And I love that you went exactly that direction with it, because sales, it should be last. And Gary Vee is a big uh, proponent of it too, and I think he nails it on the head that sales is just bad marketing. Like if you even have to sell or hard sell, it's because you didn't do really good marketing. uh you know, no, they don't have to really hard sell you an Apple phone when you go to the store. I mean, these people know they want everything Apple. They want stickers that are Apple. What else do you have? You have underwear that's Apple. I want that too. You know, they want everything. So, like, you don't. If the marketing is done right, like, you don't have to sell. So I love that you said that, and it really is brand, marketing, sale.
I'm old enough that the first computer I really remember, and there was one before this one, but the first one that was really felt like mine was an Apple IIc.
No way.
The
And
green screen,
on that note, let's
the
get
real
this.
5 1/4 floppy disk, the whole 9 yards.
Oh my goodness, we got to talk about that when we come back. Let's get this started.
You get one heartbeat song. Take it seriously. This is your masterpiece. Don't forget to dream and taste the colors in the air you breathe. It's your masterpiece. Go ahead and feel it all. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful.
All right, coach, we got to go back to that computer for a second. You have one of those. I cannot believe. So I think our first computer was when the craze finally became more mainstream. So then they were doing the gateways, and they were almost like giving them away because they wanted them in everybody's house. I think that's when we finally got a computer, but our first computer. But I'll tell you that it's funny you said that about the computer. So I mean, my first cell phone I didn't have till 21. Now kids, I mean, my 3-year-old knows how to use a cell phone, which is not good. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even
That's
make
crazy.
sense.
It's frightening. So, when my son James was little, even as a little kid, I had these things because I love computers forever, and so from the time
Me
he was
too.
just an infant, if he pressed a key, a fish would swim across the screen, and so there was always little things. And then we graduated from that to he would sit in my lap and we would play shooter games together, which probably
Yeah.
wasn't the best thing either. But
Oh, come on. Duck Hunt was like the first game for Nintendo. It even gave you the gun. I mean,
yeah, I probably had him on things like Half Life before I should have though.
oh, we're going off the rails. We're going off the rails, coach. No. But all right, well, let's bring us back to obviously the topic and where we really want to drive home today, and for this week of branding and marketing, and just try to help. Again, if you're, I think, Coach, you did a great job of explaining this with branding when you talked about the David Goliath, and you can't, and John talking about Goliath, and you can't use the same systems. You're not built the same. You don't have the
You're not
teams, you don't have the money, you don't have all of those things, so you have to be very strategic, and that's where you said about the guerrilla marketing and stuff like that, and that's definitely the best and easiest way to start. That's just what we talked about, sweat equity. Get out there, start knocking, if your target audience is businesses, start knocking doors on businesses, or if your audience is home improvements, like windows, like I did, start knocking homes. Hey, I see you got old windows. You ever think about replacing your windows? I mean, it's
yeah.
just that easy. Get your name out there, but you got to get out there. And so that's the easiest way. And then obviously, John, and the strategic with the branding, and that's the next level. So there's going out and just the grunt, and then there's going out and being remembered. And I think that's where a lot of these pest control companies. Shout out to y'all. Your canvas teams now. You went next level with these. Obviously, technology. You guys cheat. I had to walk all the time. They have these. They have those little hoverboards that they just stand on, and but they're kind of like not just a hoverboard, but they're more controlled. And they're slick. Wish I had it. I'm jealous. You guys, that's amazing. But yeah, they're doing it right, and you're remembered for that, I think. So you do that, and now take that another level where it actually maybe gives people something to remember, and that's the Statue of Liberty from Liberty Tax.
Yeah, that was immediate branding right off the bat,
It was
uh,
insane.
and the story of you trying to figure out what are you going to name a company, and John was riding through Las Vegas, Nevada, and this isn't the one that's at New York, because I don't even know that existed at this point. It's an old shopping center that had a Statue of Liberty in the parking lot, and he thought, I bet everybody within several miles knows where this place is. I wonder if Liberty Tax Service is taken, and it wasn't, and that's kind of how they. So sometimes you get fortunate when you find your name and can brand it immediately. But if you are if you're on your own and you're part of a franchise that already has a brand presence, what you have to do is figure
Mm,
out. The brand itself will have its unique brand proposition and promise. What is yours? So you should, as you're going through this, when you're thinking through what is the we statement, that's your brand promise. What is your me statement? What is your promise? So that's going to differentiate you in your market to the folks that know you and will know you soon.
absolutely, and that's the advantage. Yeah, I mean that's why I truly love the whole again franchising done right. I think that's how we create heaven on earth. It's building systems that can be easily duplicated to the average person that can is just good with people and good with time management and just being able to manage themselves. Really, you could be a franchise owner, and I think that it gives the ability for anybody who finds the right passion or purpose in the brand or franchise they choose. Then, I mean, man, that's where you have these people who stick. Roto-Rooter, a 100-year-old franchise, one of the oldest franchises out there. Their grandpa was a plumber. Roto-Rooter comes around, kind of John's idea with the tax industry. So there's just a bunch of small mom and pops. Nobody knows. Here's this national brand, Roto-Rooter. Everybody comes along, but it's small mom and pops the whole time, and it's just passed along. And obviously, that's the world's changed. They don't get passed along as much, which is so disappointing. What happened there? Do you think?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's just sometimes you remember that we talked about the sigmoid curve, and you got your learning phase, your growth phase, your decline phase. Within that growth phase at the top, if you don't change and do something different, you inevitably are going to be forgotten, because there's no standing still in the business world. If you're not moving
That's
forward, you're getting run over and you're dying.
that's right. That's just the challenge of status quo.
Yeah, yeah. And as you were talking, I was thinking too. It seems like every topic we get on, and we're like, what is the big challenge for the franchisee or the entrepreneur? And we always say, well, it seems like the entrepreneur has a hard time just getting out of their own way. And marketing and branding is no different, because
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
times, even if you join a franchise, you've got lots of brand things you can lean on. And I still see people creating their own stuff, going
yeah,
outside of the system to do things different. And when I say have a me statement, it doesn't mean you're outside of the bounds of the franchise. It means that you're in alignment with what the brand promise is, what is going to make you the best within that brand promise. But marketing is the same thing, man. We just all get in our own
yeah.
way. And when
Yes.
when you start learning that if you're coming into it with limited resources and you're looking for low cost, no cost, then that means I might have to get on the phone, or it means I might have to walk through the neighborhood. It means I might have to do some things like that. Then
Yeah.
all of a sudden we start thinking, well, I'm going to wait until, and once this happens, then I'll be okay. And someday it isn't an actual day on the calendar. So you can't rely on someday to ever pop up, because it just doesn't.
Well, and I think so. To your point, and to that, what we were going to go to next was about networking, and I think that's where the next level of this comes. Is you have your own network that you need to lean on when you're starting something. And that's where a lot of franchises probably, use that angle and have them line set up that way, like most sales companies do. Hey, reach out to your friends and family first. They're
Right, right. A
your
list,
inner network.
a list name.
Write a list, exactly. And that's your first, client list. But and that's the easiest way, but then you got to be able to go outside of that as well, because and then networking with networking groups. Again, I think a lot of people get into business but they don't even know what they want to do with business. Do they A lot of people in the end, I think, are happy just creating a job, uh, that they do in a business, but they
Yeah.
don't really want a business, where they are managing lots of people and teams and all these different levels of a business, whether it's just a few or a big. They just want to kind of want a certain level with just network marketing or something very simple like a networking group, chambers of commerce, which are free or cheap to get into. uh, a lot of online. So if you don't have the time because you're busy with a lot of other things, maybe you have your full-time job while you're trying to start your business or your franchise still, and you don't have the time. Online networking with alignable different things like that, but getting out, even Toastmasters. Shout out to Ryan. I don't know if but he took me up on that. I was big on harping on him. Network. He signed up for Toastmasters. I think he won an award for speech and all this stuff. I mean, he's like running Toastmasters now, I think. And so shout out to him. But it's when you can network with those people, it's crazy what happens. And that's how you can also collaborate and maybe find other opportunities besides them just becoming your customers. Maybe they're referring you to their customers, or maybe you have the same customers that you can both. Now you're a full service, so maybe you do Facebook ads,
Yeah,
and
and that's kind of what B&I is all about. I'll come tell me, DJ, describe your customer to me, how so that I can help find some people for you, and then you
yeah,
do the same for me. But networking does scare people, and you're right.
it
A lot of
does.
people, the E Myth Revisited book. Michael Gerber is the author, but it gets into the lady that started the bakery because she loved baking, and that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. They find a passion, so they end
Yeah,
up just, I'm going to start a business around this, and then what they
yeah,
find out is they really just found themselves in another job, and they're
yeah.
not really running it as their own business. And a big part of it really has to be the networking.
Well,
And so you'll think, well, I don't want to do cold calls, and people are
but
saying,
I'll
you don't have to do
I'll
cold
tell you.
calls. You can use warm calls, but they're still
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It's just, I don't want to talk to anybody.
I'll tell you though, uh, even the people, and that's why I mean, this, if you're afraid of network marketing, but you just want a you do just want a job in your passion, and you could create maybe you want to make 150 to $250,000. You're just a networking BNI or group away. I promise you that. I've seen endless people in those groups that they started their electrician business because they're a licensed electrician 17 years ago. They joined BNI. They never spent a dollar on marketing. Forget the Facebook ads we're going to talk about. Forget everything else. They just went to BNI. And again, they only wanted a certain level. They were able to retire from just going to BNI and networking. They didn't network
So
even beyond that. So,
you
I
you
mean,
go
it's
to as
possible.
many you go to as many networking events as anybody I know. Um,
Yeah.
what do you see? What do you see people do or not do that causes them not to reap the benefits from their networking efforts?
I think what most people do, but it's just like where most people fail in sales. uh, in the end, I know that I need to sell something to make money, especially my life has been commission sales. I know that. So how do you not have that come through? What you have to lead with giving. What are you giving to them? And so the same thing in networking. You have to don't think of these people as potential clients. Think of how you can help them, what you can do for them, whatever your maybe gift or special skills. Mine is connecting people, so that's where I've been able to and found my gift. I from doing this know a lot of people, and so able to really connect. Hey, man, you're doing something amazing. You would be perfect. And just because of those, again, most of the time I don't benefit at all. But I will tell you, to people who think that way, I'm benefiting other ways. The universe does things. That's what I believe. That's why other doors and other things are opening. I'm not benefiting from them specifically, but things are happening. And that's if you go into networking or go in anywhere in with that mindset, you'll never fail. But I think most people go in if they're new to networking or they don't understand. And again, certain groups, and again, not beating up BNI. I obviously it seems like I'm a big proponent of BNI and preach them to the sky. But in Ohio, totally different BNI RAN system than in Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach, they're more open, so open to other networking groups. So there's a lot of networking that goes on here. In Ohio, it was just BNI, and there's very strict things to BNI. So it's very, I guess you would say, it's like the Apple phone of BNI, and over here is the Android phone. They let the creators be open and creating, so there's a lot more networking going on. But um, yeah,
So I guess in a nutshell, there, what you're saying is it's more than just writing the check and showing up once or twice. You've actually got to put some thought into it and work it to get something out of it.
it's intentional everything. You have to be intentional. I mean, we talk about it all the time, but it really is. I mean, life is chess, and it's you intentionally marketing, branding is being intentional with everything you do, and really, it's just being authentic to you. But yeah, you have to be very intentional. That's go intentionally seeking out. Like I know before I go in. Here's some tips. I don't. I guess I give some tips for networking, even though we didn't talk about this. But go in knowing who you want to talk to. So like I know who I need to find now. So again, I've transitioned from what I was doing. Loyalty brands, obviously, they're not there anymore. You don't see them on our screen. It's so now it's the Good Wolf Media. So that's where that is now playing into part. That was always the plan. So me and my brother had that figured out for a while, but so starting to help companies with that way. But it's yeah,
Yeah. So
just gotta
even
go in wanting to help and know who you want to talk to and be very specific and very intentional. And that's where yeah, I've been able to collaborate and create almost and that's what BNI is really. If you use it the right way, in the sense that I am, even in the business sense of it, where that's just a higher level. That's how bigger businesses end up forming. Robert Kiyosaki is the greatest component of it. I mean, he's built all of his wealth and he says it. I haven't listened to him for a while, but just listened to Rich Dad. Shout out Rich Dad, but Rich Dad Radio just the other day, and he said, I don't know any of this stuff. I don't even care to know any of this stuff. I just find smart people who know this stuff that I don't know. And that's John is very good at that. Obviously, that's where his skill is, but and that's where a lot of the bigger that's how you get to that level is collaboration in the end. I forget who said it, but all the big companies, Jeff Bezos only owns 10% of Amazon. He doesn't own the whole thing. There's a lot of other people that own the thing to make it as big as that is. But a lot of
Yeah.
small business owners don't. Can't, they just
Yeah, they don't. It's hard to see that bigger picture when you're focused on
when you're trying to
paying,
grow
paying,
something.
paying the bills early in your entrepreneurial venture. It gets a little
Yeah,
cloudy. The
yeah,
and it's hard to remember that when you go to those events, it would be great to get a customer at the event, but what about building
of
a network that
course.
feeds you customers? So
Yes,
what about building that connection? And what about a network where if when somebody comes to me and says, "Do you know a good lawyer or a good financial planner or a good marketing media company?" Then it's like, not only do I know one, let me introduce you. And once you get those kind of connections going, so all of this networking is not about always asking somebody to buy something. It's about creating beneficial partnerships.
it's just being very strategic. I think Gary Vee does it very well. I think John is the master of it. That's why he can talk to a lot of people. But anybody who knows John, once you get to a certain point with John, it's a short, quick text. T TY, whatever. Whatever it is, it's very quick. But he is very to the point, and that's where I learned from Bob Gappa. Words matter, and so get straight to the point. And so meetings can be shorter, things can be done faster if you're very intentional with what you're doing and who you're spending time with. And that's where you just don't go to just make a bunch of friends or hang out with the cool kids, but it's just be very intentional to what you're there for.
And whatever you've decided is going to be your brand promise, live it in every meeting. It's got to shine through everything you do, everything you say.
They
Um,
better.
it, yeah, they got to see you living that purpose if that's going to be your brand promise.
They better. Yes, exactly. So that's networking, really. So social media, I think that's another thing that most people don't use. Here, I Ma how did John Hewitt even find this kid from Cleveland? Again, Cleveland. You know I'm from Cleveland. I wear this stuff all the time on purpose, for a reason. Uh, Also, I'm a very simple person. I realized I could wear the same clothes all the same thing. I don't need flash. I don't need anything. So I'm very simple with that. But so I wear this on purpose for the show, obviously. The Cleveland hat. I see Coach has Mr. BYOE. Obviously, even things in the backgrounds, we do that, and that's for a reason if you're intentional about it. And that's where I think even intentional marketing and what you're putting out on social. So if you have a business and you aren't using it's first figuring out who your audience is, so obviously, and then knowing the demographics of all the different social media platforms. Um, and then it's really just knowing, like we talked about, coach with the fishing, but knowing what pool you want to fish in and where you're going to, and then testing out a few of them. And
Yeah,
that's really
you
marketing.
gotta know everything about that fish you're trying to get so that you can present exactly what that fish is going to be attracted to. So
Yeah.
again, I've got my branding, I've got my marketing that's going to be the attraction. Then I've got the sales that's going to hook them in. But out of a random coincidence, right behind me, and I'm not a huge Cleveland fan. This was a bachelor party weekend for a
Hey.
friend of mine. A ball signed by the '94 Cleveland Indians, the
What?
American League champion Cleveland Indians.
No way. That broke my heart. So I'll tell you a story real quick because you just brought me back to it. So my dad rented a big screen because that was when the Indians were in the playoffs. So big screen just for the playoffs. That's how big it was. And just to see them not pull it off ever with the most amazing team ever. I'll never forget that. Yeah, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, but that stays back there. That, and I'm not even a huge baseball fan, but there's that in the picture of my son and I with Greg Maddox back there. So since we're in the middle of almost the World Series here, might as well break out some baseball talk.
Yeah, I love it. See, we're hitting all the points, and this is social. This is marketing again, and this is where I think like Gary Vee. There's organic, there's paid. Those are your two forms of doing this. You can do just being out there. Gary Vee, how does everybody know him? Why do I talk about him so much? Why do I talk? Well, because a lot of his strategies is how I got found by John Hewitt, how I was mentioned on podcast, how I ended up networking and having people from England on the show and all over the world on the first podcast and then on other podcasts. And how I
Yeah,
had John Hewitt on that first
a
podcast
few weeks
was
ago, I was in Anaheim, and somebody just ran, I feel like I know you. And I feel like I've seen you somewhere. And then it was like, 30 minutes later, I don't know where it was. It was on Franchise Secrets podcast with Eric Van Horn. I was like, yeah, I was on that.
yeah, shout out EBK. Yeah, you
Yeah.
were. And we got to talk. There's some guests you had on. I'd love to have on Eric, um, Rich Dad. But anyway, so so
But no, but
yes,
social is so big, and
it is. It is.
and even though it's
It's
not quite,
free.
it's
It's
not quite the
free.
untapped resource that it once was. It's not quite as easy to make a splash as it once was. It is
But
still it is
but
still
it's
your no cost, low cost way to make a splash.
it's free. Again, if you don't do the paid, it's free. It's just your time, and then it's just understanding strategy, and it's reusing video. That's one of the things we do here. So there is any guest, we give you the video. If you're new to marketing or don't have a marketing strategy or plan, we give you the video and let you do some shorts and use it for your marketing plan.
I forget the name of the company, and this was a while back, but there was a pool company, and they were doing pretty well, like 4 million in revenue, but they had like a $250,000 ad budget. They were just doing traditional type marketing, spending a lot of money on it. And 2008, back when that crash happened, they basically lost the whole business and almost went under. And so they were trying to figure out what to do. Obviously, the money for a big ad budget wasn't there, and they started following exactly what you said. They just started giving away content online. They became known as the pool expert. There was more people going. Anybody that had a question, that's where they were getting routed because of the algorithms, was to that website. And in a very short period of time, the revenue was higher and the amount spent on marketing was almost nothing. And so just think of what that does to your profit margin when when you're instead of 4 million on 250,000, it's 4 million on 20,000 or whatever the number was at that point. But it all turned around from that one thing. They gave away content, and it was things that most other pool companies would have said, man, you're stupid for giving that away. That's what they pay us for. But that's not what they pay you for.
Yeah, and that's
That's
and
what they
I'm
will
glad.
pay you for down the road.
And I'm glad you said that. That's where I brought this up. So shout out to Gerard at Gerard Marketing. He had this event for the Facebook ads over at Coastal Realty, where we're gonna have the studio here soon. But um, they uh, to the realtors, that's what I told them. Like, I can guarantee you, and they all said it. They all admitted it, and most of them are on a team. But I said, like, your customer is probably not the same as your customer, and it's probably not the same as your customer, but you're all selling houses. You know that, right? So like, but there is a different customer. So if you, with your content, with your who you want to work with who your customer base you want to be, and you're very specific in your marketing, or you just figure out who your customer is to this point. In the beginning, you don't know. If you don't have any customers, you don't know. So now it's just a test. But once you do start to get customers, just like with content, it's testing at first. Wait, your audience will find you, and then you have to figure out what your audience is and what they want more of. And that's just like a business, though. Only two ways to grow any business: more customers or make more money from your existing customers. That's it.
Yeah, and even if you don't have a customer, going through your ideal client profile is really important because you
Yeah.
really need that in order to. Well, let's go back to fishing. I need to know what type of a reel, what type of rod. I need to know the type of line, the capacity, and the test of the line to know what that is. I need to know the baits, the presentations, the color of the water. There are all these different things. Well, all these things apply, and if I don't know specifically who my ideal customer is, I don't know what I'm going to need to have in my tackle box. I don't know what my message is going to need to be when I get on social media. I don't know how I need to present myself. Does it need to be coat and tie, or can it be Mr. BYOE t-shirt here? I don't know how I need to show up. And so from the very beginning, going through that process of identifying who who is, and remember, there's the old saying, the riches are in the niches. So you're looking for your
Mhm.
niche that you can provide, that your brand can provide, that no one else can. And once you know that niche, that's a lot easier. That's now you're fishing in a smaller pond. It's easier to catch the fish in a smaller pond than to be out in the middle of the ocean somewhere. So um,
Yeah.
do that ideal client profile first and foremost, and then really get intentional with your messaging as you get out on social media.
Yeah, that's where I think most companies are still struggling with this idea of the corporate philosophy of race to the bottom. Every product or service only has three things: good, cheap, or good, fast, or cheap. Right? I think, and but you can only have two. So they've already raised the prices. The biggest companies already raised the price as low as it can go. So if you're trying to beat anybody, if you're a new brand, if you're a new company, and you're trying to get even cheaper, stop and try to figure out how you can build your value, build the experience, build the whatever you're giving to them, and give more and charge more and create your niche that way. But be very, and that's again, Alex Hormozy does a great $100 million offers, guys. It books free, I think now on Amazon or somewhere. But it's amazing, and that's really what that book will even show you is just creating the offer. So even free to your networks or to your not to your creating a group. So I have a Facebook group. Never created the Facebook group on purpose to anything more than giving. So I guess that was the benefit to begin with. I started with giving, but I was actually, I will say it was double edged. I was really angry at I know the trash talking other brokers who were saying there was no money in logistics in the other groups. And I knew they were from the big companies who didn't want anybody else in the world of logistics. And so I was like, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to create this group and I'm giving everything that worked for me for free. Well, let me tell you, 26,000 members later, and I don't know what to do with this group because I'm not really in logistics. But so anybody in logistics, if you want to talk about that, let's reach out. But I literally just was giving. I just wanted to give because I really just wanted to help. But that's again, that could be free, guys. Start a group. What do you specialize in? If you're a coach, you're a coach, business coach, but you have a test or an intro that you can give for free. Give it for free, a half hour, or maybe just some little advice. Create a group and just keep giving little snippets from your coaching that will help, or uh, just find out where they're struggling and reach and give out, or create a podcast and help people for free. And you do those things and it gets out there.
It gets out there, and it's consistency matters when it comes to social media.
Consistency, yes, that's the biggest key.
um, Consistency, and that's where I've struggled in the past, is consistency. So starting to do this 2 days a week, and now I'm getting messages, hey, you've streamed something for 12 weeks in a row. It's like, hey, that's the best I've ever done. So consistency matters, your messaging matters. Again, targeting it at the right place matters. Sometimes you have to put your feelings aside. I don't have the most fuzzy feelings about TikTok, but if you want to listen to Gary Vee, he'll tell you that's the uncharted territory right now, where you can make a quick
I agree.
impression. Um,
It,
and
it, it's
and he
it,
says that the window's closing quickly before it's going to lose its effectiveness, because that's what happens over time. It gets a little more monitored, a little more controlled, and it's not like the wild wild west like it was at one point. So sometimes you have to put
yeah,
that aside. And you might say, well, I don't even use it. Well, if you listen to most of the people that are getting the benefit from social media, they'll tell you, I'm not a consumer of social media, I use it for the business. So they're
yep,
not sitting there swiping.
Yep.
They're just putting out content, and somebody
You
else or an
you
automated
should
system is
you
posting.
don't get stuck swiping, guys. That's where you'll get stuck. It doesn't matter how much media you're putting out there and how many leads if you're swiping. So don't get stuck there. But
Yeah,
yeah,
even mine, man, that was way too comfortable of of emotion. I, I need to break that habit.
oh, it's a bad habit. I mean, and again, it's there. But that's the we're tempted with it bad. Just we're tempted with distractions all day, every day. That's what life
That's right.
is
And
to
what we can't say is,
distract us
well,
from the goal.
I'm gonna go cold turkey and not use it for anything. Well, you can't do that because we do
Uh,
need to use it to get the message out because
And I think
social
that's what
media.
hurts so many people. That's why Gary Vee's so big on it. Is they hid from it, they ran from it, and he just keeps blowing up from it because he knows. Like he's and that's what he says all the time. Like, hey, I know, like y'all didn't like the internet. You said Y2K, all this stuff. Don't do this, and you can't sell wine on the internet. And now look, and all the other stuff. But uh, you just got to grow with it, and that's what I think. That's the most amazing thing about John. Shout out to John JTH. He's always trying to figure out the next trend, the next thing. He nothing. And again, back to how he started, and his dad started with the first software ever for the first Apple. Was that your Apple, or is that the one before?
I
Look at
actually I
that.
think his was the later generation Apple. Even I think that was
Oh,
probably I think it was probably a 2E if I'm not mistaken, but
oh no,
I might be
no,
mixing up my machines.
no kidding. Oh man. So the next part we really wanted to kind of touch on and another opportunity, and we kind of really touched on it already. I want to really go to I don't think franchises do it enough, which is kind of weird. And I've talked to a few different franchisees from other uh, ZORs or systems, and they don't do a lot of cross marketing or partnering up like that. Um, why? Why do you why do you think that is? And then, I mean, obviously, I know the benefits, but the, why do you think that is?
It's just like everything else. It's a fear of doing something different. It's not a traditional way of doing things. It's um, you have to prove to me that this is going to work, that there's going to be a payback, and all that sort of thing. Where we had a lot of luck, it wasn't always partnering with another business, even, but we partnered with a lot of charities. We did lots and lots of things for charity through the years. Within the franchisees need to partner up and help one another out. I mentioned this Tuesday, but as we were building the brand name, one of the things that was the most impactful was if I couldn't be as a franchisee where I needed to be, my neighboring franchisees covered it for me, and I did the same for them. We worked as a team, not as competitors, and
Yeah,
and that helped us build something. And so that was basically cross promoting. We were helping one another out. But if there's an opportunity to do cross promotion and to get some things, so for charity, I'll just give you this example. If we were doing an event for
yeah,
charity, maybe we're raising money, or maybe a portion of every sale is going to charity. What we would do is we would first pick the charity and get everything we needed from them. Then we would start going around to neighboring businesses, and so it's like, hey, we're having a big party out in front of the store. We're going to raise money for whatever the charity is. um, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to participate. There's going to be hundreds of people milling around. Is there something that you could possibly donate? And hopefully they'll come set up a booth or whatever, and be a big part of it. But most of them say no to that, but
yeah.
they will donate. And so we'd end up getting food. We'd get paper products. One of my best partners ever was an exotic meats provider. So I was cooking buffalo burgers and alligator and all kinds of stuff for the
No kidding.
party. But what we do is, once you start getting a couple of those other businesses, then you start hitting your press releases, and the press releases are um, Focal Point Coaching is raising money and having a party for Alzheimer's or whatever it's going to be, in conjunction with. And then you start naming McDonald's and Food Lion and HEB, or whoever gave you anything, their name goes in the press release, because
Yeah,
picking up one entrepreneur on a press release is iffy, right? But if I've got 10 other big name brands that are backing and coming on board, they're going to pick up your press release, and all of a sudden you'll have media coverage that you didn't expect, and it'll actually blow up. And the whole time, what you're doing is you're doing something good for someone else, while
Yeah.
building your brand and building your goodwill, and a lot of good things come from it.
And so it's a win. What you're explaining to me is that is a win,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I
and once the other businesses that are around you start to see their names showing up
want to build it.
in other places, what they'll do,
Reach out to me after the show.
once they start seeing their name, like let's say you see Good Wolf Media, and you see that in three or four different places, and you're like, man, eh, he was a man of his word. He really promoted this thing. Then the next time I come by and ask, odds are I'm not going to have any trouble. It's not going to be arm twisting to get you to join in again.
Yeah.
So it's not a one time thing. This is a relationship that can grow together and be really really impactful.
Well, and it's even strategic partnering again on online, guys. So let's say your service has something to do with maybe there's influencers on your demographic or your audience is on Instagram, and there's influencers who are always talking about window treatments or window houses, and you sell blinds or something like partnering with them and doing some cross promoting that way and social is very and there's something called affiliate marketing, guys. That's a huge thing. That's what a lot of big companies use. You give a little code, you work with some larger influencers in your space, and they promote your product, your service, and everybody wins. So use that. That's another way to use it, using social, but that co-oping opportunity. And
And
then there's even
even for the show here, we're competing for people's time with a lot of other shows, a lot of other podcasts, but we don't hesitate to share the names of the other podcasts that we're benefiting from, or so
yeah.
whether it's Rena or Gary V. I mean, we still shout those things out, even though it's in direct competition for people's time that we would love to have, right? But
Absolutely.
we're not getting a dime for it. But if I think I can help you benefit, and I'll cross with those other content providers.
Yeah, listen, in the end, it's how the big guys win. It's how they just keep getting bigger. is they they're partner guys. So us little guys, we got to partner together. I think that's collaboration. I can't say enough about that. I just really can't.
And
I
and
think
on
it.
this show, there's just not enough. There's not enough people out there, I don't think, that are looking for fishing. So I have to go to other people for help. I have to point them in other directions.
Yeah, no, this guy. Those guys on TV, they're something else too. But they know, again, that's what I said. Like, I will never pretend. And that's another thing. If you are going back to social and content, if you are going to start, because content is king, guys. If you can be consistent, even if you suck at it at first, there's AI, there's Chat GPT, there's automated stuff. Right? We can help you with that. BidTech, reach out to BidTech and Johnny over at BidTech. They can help you with that. But we, you can automate these things so you don't, if you're not a techie person, if you're not, but don't not use that or have that as your disadvantage going up against Goliath. They're using that and way more. They're blasting that your customers like Gary Vee is, and the same customer that you're trying to go after 39 times over 9 different channels. That's Gary Vee. That's what he does every day. 39 posts to 9 different channels.
Yeah,
That's
and remember,
insane.
remember those big Goliaths. They can't turn as quickly as you can. They have to go through all sorts of hoops just to get any piece of content approved. A lot of times, and all sorts of things. One of your advantages is your nimbleness and your ability to see what works and what's not. And once you figure out what works, man, just work that well till it's dry. As long as it's working, just keep doing it. But just
That's
be very nimble, and don't be afraid to try things, and don't be afraid to quit things. More importantly, just do the things that
Yeah,
work.
yeah. Do what works. Yes. And track. You have to track. In the end, if you don't have something that's tracking what you're doing marketing wise, promotion wise, even your content, again, the next level on the tracking of even LinkedIn. I mean, they give you impressions, they give you likes, they give you the audience. I can tell you what my audience is. I can tell you, it's kind of interesting where my audience mostly is. Shout out to Cleveland. Thank you guys. I love you guys out there. But that's a majority of my audience. Thanks. But yeah, it's insane. Where what you can really break down, but you have to know what you're looking for. You have to be very intentional, and you have to have a strategy. Life's about strategy,
Yeah,
strategy and execution. That's it.
yeah. And again, don't be afraid to do stuff. Quick
Yeah.
decision making. Quick decision making.
Yes. Yes. Email marketing. There's lots of things out there for that. Again, if you don't have some sort of email marketing, it's all about touches. It's all about being in front of people's faces. The way I like to, they're having 5 kids and being part of a huge family. I think I understand kids to the T, but I figured out what makes salespeople either good or bad is their willingness, like a kid, to ask one more, even knowing they might get yelled at or the yell is coming. They're just going to keep asking for one more, or asking one more time until they get it. And it's unfortunately, Gary Grant Cardone, although I don't like some of his style because he has the total PC salesperson with the dress and all that, and the raw work. You got to be working all day. I don't think you have to do that either. But he is right with you. If know him or like him, you know who he is, and that's the only way you're ever going to really accomplish anything. Is people knowing what you do and knowing who you are and trusting who you are. And so you have to get it out there. It has to be out there.
Yeah,
Any
email is
way you can.
and emails are still valid. And this is another one where I'll get folks to say, "Well, I don't get sold through email marketing, and I hate it when I get emails from this, that, or the other, or I have a side email account that I never look at that I send people to." All those things are true to some degree, right? But there's still a
But
lot of
there's apps that
hay to
text
be
now,
made.
guys.
There's an awful lot of hay to be made from solid email, and so it needs to be done with intention, and it needs to be done in the right way. So I don't
Yeah.
want anybody out there just blasting 1,000 emails a
Well, and
day.
that's yeah, and again, if you're just leading with this is what I sell, this is what I sell, this is what I sell, you're not going to sell anything. Give them something first. Give them some value. Give them something that made them happy to even open the email.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. And so I love to read. We talk about books all the time, and so I'll generally sign up for authors and what they offer, and more often than not, I end up unsubscribing just because of the way they do it. It's nothing but one ask right after the next. But then
yeah.
you'll get on one like a James Clear, who he Atomic Habits is James
Atomic
Clear.
habits. Yeah.
He'll send you one email a week, and it's an actual useful email. It's got 5 really key, really good points, quotes, and things to think about in it. And so that one that goes straight to my save. So for your business, whatever your business is, if it's something that I need, a problem I have, and you're going to give away ideas of how I can mitigate that problem or eliminate that problem, and you're giving actual good stuff, I'm going to open your email. Where if you're just saying ask, I'm going to unsubscribe pretty quickly.
Yes. Yeah. That's in the LinkedIn world they call it pitch slapping, and
Yeah.
a lot of that goes on in the inboxes. And guys, it doesn't work. Like, read my profile. I'm not in trucking anymore. I don't have trucks. There's nothing I can do with trucks. I'm
So when you
sorry.
when you accept the invite for somebody and you immediately get the email, it's usually a pitch slap.
Yeah. 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 And that's gotta give. Follow the Gary V. Give. Jab, jab, right hook, which is give, then ask. Or even better, which I tried to follow as much as I can, the Mosey way. Just keep giving until they're like, okay, you're giving me too much. What can I pay you to do for me? Perfect. Yeah, I can help you there. That's it. Just give. Just give. That's whatever you're doing on the lowest level, what you can give. And again, maybe it's your expertise. And so it's partnering up or co-oping to help another small business grow. So maybe you're really good at sales and they're really good at the operations. And you're both starting 2 businesses and somehow you can help each other in those roles. Help but in some way collaborate, in some way work together. I think we can all grow together. I think there is a way to do that, and I'd like to see more small businesses do that. So think of ways that who you can work with to grow, and that's just maybe even just start there.
And when you're trying to think, I don't have content, there's lots of content. And so what's a problem you're trying to solve? What are the top three things that you can do? So the top three, the top three
Yeah.
reasons this normally doesn't work. The
Why don't you
number
go off
one,
of your
number
customers'
one
common
reason.
issues? Yeah.
Yeah. Just look for those common issues, and then you pick the number one reason, and then you go. But you just get creative, and if there's some way that you can tie something that's really popular going on in just general society and tie it in, then tie it in. It's kind of like the Hollywood switch. There, you bring
But
in something that
don't
everybody talks about.
don't overthink it, and just be consistent. I'll tell you, that was
Well,
probably
our fishing example, we didn't really overthink that, but it works as an example for this, and so that's a way
yeah,
you get content.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it's just if you can, in the moment of whatever you're doing throughout your day, ooh, this would be a great thing for later. Just remember that, and now it's content for later. And maybe you have to take a picture, and maybe you do something, or something happens throughout your day. Those are definitely ways to not have to go above, but be able to build that story and that journey. In the end, you just want to
And
paint a
that's what
journey,
speakers have
an
done forever.
experience.
Good speakers just pay attention to the stuff around them and talk about it, right? They add that into the story. So
Yeah,
watch what your kids are doing, watch what their kids' friends are doing, watch what's going on around, and there's always some way that you can weave those little stories in, and it's captivating, and you can cut up these little 34-second shorts that make a difference and get some views for you.
yeah.
But
But
speaking of give, um, I have an appointment to go give blood, and so we got to wrap this up.
okay, yeah. Well, let's wrap it up. So, final thoughts. We'll wrap this up, so you can go
Well,
give blood.
just remember, branding is your promise. Branding is what it help you get known. It's not what attracts. The marketing is the attractor. Branding is what gets you known. Marketing attracts, and sales get you paid. And so, just all three are separate things, and you need to be very intentional and focus on each one, and build out each one.
Intentional marketing. That's what I will tell you guys. Intentional with the content. Intentional with your marketing. Intentional with everything you do. The more intentional you can be with your process, with your system, with your day, your message, your branding is just going to come through a lot clearer. So yeah, that's you nailed it. So with that, guys, again, thank you for joining us. Anybody who joined us, shout out to whoever wants to start a brokering company. There's a lot of people wanting to start that. I'll tell you, that's a dangerous area. So you're going to want to be very strategic about that as well. But there is a lot of strategies starting things, guys, and that's what we're just trying to help you with here on Robinhood Capitalist. We're really, our mission is trying to help 10,000 families create their heaven on earth, which is to us is just doing what you love with who you love. And it's just being able to wake up on Monday, excited about Monday, and going into Friday thinking, man, is it already Friday? I still have some stuff to do. Now you know you're on something that you want to be doing. And that's really the goal, and should be the goal for everybody. So,
And one last shout out to the American Red Cross. Give blood when you get a chance. It does save lives.
yes, give blood. American Red Cross. It does. It does. I've my oldest was a preemie. He had a transfusion twice. So yes, shout out to everybody. Again, Robinhood Capitalist. Remember, feed the good wolf, guys. Till next time.
See you guys.
I'm always on the red eye. This time around, it's not even about getting paid. I'm just an addict for the moment when the magic is made. And when you are who you really are, it can put you through hell. Spend a day in the skin that you wanna live in, and see how it feels while the world